Alright, this is AP Calculus. I am still super sick. I did not want to come today, but I am here.
Why did you come?
You don't have to.
Because we only have one sub in our whole pool, and she's being used by Mr. Warner.
Are your eyes okay?
My eyes hurt like crazy. Alright, I did not sleep very much. Anyway, let's do some math.
That's not
Wait,
good.
Heather has a sub too, right?
Yep, they used they had to do some shifting around there. It was very hard to get that to work. Alright, equation for the line tangent. We automatically know we're using what formula?
Y minus y1 equals the slope times parentheses x minus x1.
There it is. And this might be a fraction, we'll make it big, times x minus x1. Thank you, Rochelle. Alright, so we know what our x is. It says x is 1, therefore x is 1. Equation for the line tangent, that means I'm doing f prime of 1 here, f prime of 1 here, and I'm doing I'll do it in black here maybe, f of 1 here. So far so good. So do I have, oh, it has f of 1. F of 1 is 2, it tells us right here. So I can just put 2 here. It also tells us what y prime is. It says y prime right here is equal to x y to the power of 3. Well, I have x. Oops. I have y. I can plug in those x's and y's into this formula.
How do you know? Because there's x's in the final formula that you don't plug in right away. How do you know which x's you plug in right away?
So I know that I need to plug in because I need to find a number for an equation to the line tangent. Whenever it's equation, always 100%. Yep. So my y prime, when I substitute in, x is 1, y is 2 to the power of 3, so y prime is equal to 8. The slope is 8, and that's 2 points. Okay, ask me questions because this is the easiest place to make improvement.
What sucks is that I plugged it in a different equation.
Okay. Did you plug it into the second derivative?
Yeah, I thought that was like y prime, you know.
Okay, yeah. So if you see a 2, that means it's y double prime. If you just see a dy, it's just y prime. And that's easy. Like next test that you're going to have something very similar to this. You're going to ace it now, right? Because you know the difference.
Hopefully.
I think you will. I think Arrow, you will too. All right, let's do part B. So we need to approximate f of 1.1. So using our formula up here, we're going to say y minus 2. Oh, thank you. Y minus 2 is equal to 8 times minus 1, and that number that we're plugging in is 1.1. 1.1 is being plugged in.
So we use the formula.
Yeah, but if you can't find the formula in part A, everything else from the rest of the problem is off. Well, part
so
C.
That's why I didn't get any points.
Well, part C is its own thing. So if you miss part A and B, I can still get you to pass because part C is very straightforward. There's some easy points to get there.
Wait, I have a question.
Okay.
Did you want us to simplify it?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, this is simplified. It's in point slope form. I'll talk about that later. Oh yeah, in random news, I'm being kicked out of my house in about a month and a half.
What?
Wait, what? Why?
It's just
Wait,
that-
I didn't hear.
Well, I guess it's 2 months. It's pretty close.
Wait, Mr. Sinda, where are you gonna live?
That is a great question that me and my wife are struggling to find out.
Do you want to live with us?
Well, no, I mean, we'll find a place, but we just need to find that place.
You need to live in Mono City.
I mean, yeah, that'll be nice.
Wait, what's happening? Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't really.
My lease ends, and they want to sell the house instead of letting us rent
Oh no.
because they're too old and they don't want to manage the property. All right, so now I'm going to actually solve this. 1.1 minus 1 is 0.1, right? 0.1 times 8 is
Okay.
0.8. We can do this mental math in our head, so I'm not going to.
It's be y equals 2.8.
Arrow, are we okay with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's 1 point right there.
Okay.
Just being able to do some mental math. Okay, this is the key part. Is this approximation 2.8, is that greater or less than the actual value? So is it an over approximation or an under approximation? What do we need to check?
If 2.8 is greater than 1 but less than 1.1.
Not quite. So usually you want to check the second derivative. So what's happening here is we found a tangent line. Let's look at a picture. Maybe that will help explain it. So I had some data here at 1. I'll say that's 1. I said, okay, at 1, I'm going to make a line tangent at x equals 1. So let's say my line tangent looked like this. And we said, okay, using that line, let's approximate this value over here at 1.1. Obviously not drawing a scale. And we said, okay, we found that value. It's 2.8. It has a y value of 2.8. But it's saying that's not the actual curve. The actual curve might have looked like this, or the actual curve might have looked like this. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between this second graph and the first graph that I drew is the concavity. If it's
find the concavity in order to know if it's underestimate or over.
yeah, if it's concave up, we have an
Under.
exactly. If it's concave down, we have an
Over.
And that's just decided by if the concavity is positive or negative?
that's it. That's
So
we're
then-
only looking for positive or negative, just the sign
So
exactly.
I have to plug in 2.8 and 1.1 into the second derivative.
You're so close. Yes, we have the second derivative. It gave it to us, but we don't need to do that much work. We only need to plug in
1.1 or 8.
oh, do we need to plug in 2.8?
Because we only need.
Because if we plug in 2.8, we'll find out what the second derivative is. If it's positive, then it's going to be underestimated.
I think you're right because I didn't see that this had a y in it, and we have a y that we need to enter. So yeah, let's go ahead and plug it in. So our second derivative, I'll do this in orange, I guess. Y double prime is equal to y to the power of 3, so it's going to be 2.8 to the power of 3. And then that's going to be multiplied by this other thing. Well, 2.8 to the power of 3, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure that's positive. Would you agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's ignore it. We only care about the sign, as Arrow pointed out. We
Then
only
I believe everything is positive because in the equation there's no subtraction or negative. And x and y are both positive, so it's going to be an underestimate then.
There it is. That's the answer. So y equals to 2.8. I guess if you're being formal about this, you'd say f of 1.1, the approximation of f of 1.1 is equal to 2.8 is an under approximation. Because y double prime was positive. And I'm not exactly sure how much evidence you have to show. They say you have to justify, and I can show you the solution guide as well. Solution guide for number 2. No, what number are we on? Number 5. Thank you. The solution guide only says that you need to, what's going on here? Okay, there it is. The solution guide has this explanation, but it just says your conclusion with the explanation. So I don't know how strong of an explanation you need. So just to be careful, make sure you're showing at least a little bit of work. This amount of work I think is plenty. Like positive, positive, it's pretty straightforward. Or you can even have a written explanation, some sort of explanation to show you that y double prime was positive. You can't just say it is positive. You have to show a little bit of work or a little bit of reasoning for why it is positive. This amount of work I think is perfectly fine. Cool. And then we got all the points for part B. On to part C. This is where the majority of the points come from. Look at the solution guide. You can get 5 points here. And again, I told Aaron and Rochelle, if you got 5 points, well, obviously you can't get that last point because that is really, really hard.
That's
And-
weird because for hers, you put 0 over 5. I got 0 over 4.
Oh,
I thought it was 4 points.
Yeah, but 8 doesn't equal 9. You know?
True.
that was my mistake. It should have been out of 5. But yeah, solving for y, that last step, it takes a lot of work, so you can definitely get 4 points. And maybe now that you know how to do equation for the line tangent, plugging that in correctly, you can get those 2 points there. If you both got a 5 on this question and everything else was the same, you would have passed.
Hmm.
I would have gotten a 3.
you would have gotten at least a 3, if not higher. I think Rochelle would have got a 3.1, Arrow would have got a 3. Or vice versa. Yeah, and that just part C even could give you the pass, right? Obviously, maybe the solving for y, maybe not so much. But let's do it. So, underline boxes, star it, highlight it, make it bold. You can't do that. Do everything you can for particular solution. Whenever you see particular solution, it is always those 4 steps. Separate, integrate, evaluate, isolate, every single time. So, write it down somewhere so that you can remember this. Whenever you see
Integrate, evaluate.
those are the 3 steps that you need for the majority of the points, and then isolate, you don't really need to do. That's only going to be 1 point. And let's practice it. Separate. So my original equation is right here. dy dx equals, I'll even write it down again down here. dy dx is equal to xy cubed. Okay. That's the same thing as xy cubed over 1, but I think you guys will know how to cross multiply. Alright, sorry Ben, I kind of have to leave you out here because you knew what you were doing. But so this is purely between Arrow and Rochelle. Tell me what to do.
It's gonna cross multiply, so it's gonna be 1 over y cubed dy equals x dx.
That was really fast, cross multiplying and simplifying, but yes.
Well, I remember this. I just didn't know like if I was supposed to do it on this one.
That makes my life that much easier. Thank you. I need to make sure that Arrow is also on the same page, though. Are you able to follow Rochelle's really fast mental math?
How do you cross multiply?
To be honest, what makes me like a little confused now, just realizing it, because I remembered how to do it. It's just the fact that I forgot why it's a 1 over y cubed dy. I forgot why it was like that.
Okay. So here's the trick for cross multiplying for all of your math concerns, and it's even more advanced than just cross multiplying. You are allowed to switch the diagonals as much as you want as long as the denominator is never 0. dx is never 0, so you're okay. You're allowed to switch as long as things are being multiplied also. So these things are being multiplied. I can drag this y cubed down to the depths like a shark would drag you underneath the water. I can drag that y cubed and just switch it. This dx, I can just drag it up here and switch it. You are allowed to switch. You don't have to just multiply and then divide. You can literally just switch.
So it can also be y cubed dy equals 1 over x dx.
You have to have the dx and dy's on the top, though. So you're right, but you have to have the dx and dy's on the top. Otherwise, you can't do the integral.
Okay, how do you cross multiply normally?
Okay, so without the shortcutting method, cross multiplication works like this. Do you agree that xy cubed is the same thing as xy cubed over 1?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then here I go. Let's do this in yellow. What's 1 times dy? 1 dy. Or yeah, just we'll say dy. All right, I'm going to do it the other way. Dx times this one is xy cubed dx. And then I want to separate the variables. I have a y here, and it needs to be over here because that's where all the y's belong. So I have to divide both sides by y cubed, and I get this line.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know why that was so complicated. But
No, it needs some refreshing, I think. Cool. Done. That was step 1. You get 1 point just for doing that. Here's where the majority of the points come in. Step 2.
It's going to be the integral of 1 over y cubed.
Let's change that. I don't like fractions.
So then it's going to be y negative cubed
Y to the negative 3, yep, dy.
equals integral of x dx.
Perfect. So you get just 1 point for setting it up, I think. Maybe. Let's look at the solution guide. Nope, you have to actually do the antiderivative. So taking the antiderivative of y to the negative 3 goes up a power. So it's now y to the power of
Negative 2.
divide down,
Negative 2
and then on the right hand side.
equals x to the power of 2 over 2.
And don't forget that 1 free point
Plus c.
plus c will give you a free point 100% of the time.
and we only need plus C on one side?
Only on one side, yeah. I mean, technically both sides have it, and then you subtract it over, and you just have one constant. And
Doesn't matter where.
it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. So it kind of does because it will mess up the formula later if plus c is on the left, but you will be able to fix that by checking your domain. For us, it doesn't matter too much because we're not doing step number 4. If you're doing step 4, it does matter where the c is, but it'll be fixed. So my short answer, my concise answer is no, it doesn't matter. My long answer is it'll eventually be fixed by step 4. Sorry if that's confusing. Don't worry about it. Just try to put it on there right with the x's and you'll be fine.
So C always belongs with X.
It doesn't always belong with the x's, but if you do that, you're not going to mess up.
So it belongs with X.
Sure, we'll simplify it and say it belongs with the x and be slightly incorrect. Yes. All right, we just got 2 points. 1 point for taking the antiderivatives. You don't get a point for this one unless you miss it. You lose the point because it's so easy. You do always get a point for the plus c. They say constant of integration. Constant of integration, it will always be in the solution guide. You will always get a point if you do plus c. It's easy points. And then finally, just plug in, evaluate, use the initial condition. So let's plug in. Our y up here was 2, our x was 1. Our y was 2. I'm going to rewrite this a little bit too. So it's going to be 1 over y, or I guess negative 2y squared, right? And instead of y, I'm going to have a 2. So I'm going to do 2 times 2 squared is equal to, and x was 1, so it's going to be 1/2 plus c. Just by writing that on the A-B test, you will get another point. You don't even have to do any simplifying. Of course, on the test coming up here on Sunday, not Saturday, but Sunday at 8 in the morning, you will need to simplify this in order to get the point for solving for the constant of integration. So solving that, this is going to be negative 1 over 8. I now need to subtract 1/2 on both sides to get c by itself, and I need to simplify this. So c is equal to negative 5/8. I can slow down and show you how I got that if people weren't able to combine or to add fractions. Rochelle, you got it?
Yeah.
Arrow? I'm not even going to do step 5. It's not worth it. Just focus on getting those main points.
But can we do it just like,
Rochelle wants to do it.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, is number 3 what C equals?
No.
So we just did step 3 here.
Oh, okay, just make sure.
Step 3 is evaluate. And then step 4 is to isolate.
Wait, 4 is like,
And I forgot to write down the steps, what I was doing down here. But step
how do you
2,
get that 5th point?
by doing a giant amount of work for step 4.
Oh,
You want to do
It's
it?
not that
Yeah.
hard.
It actually isn't that hard, especially once you get used to it. And I was teaching you the hardest way. There's an easier way to do it. Isolate. Okay, so let's come back here to this equation. I'm going to rewrite it down, but moving this y to the power of 2 to the bottom and making it a positive power. So here we go. I'm rewriting. 1 over a negative 2y squared is equal to x squared over 2. And now I don't have to write the c anymore because I know c. c is minus 5/8. Minus 5/8. And I think Ben has a unique method in solving it, and it's just algebra from here. I might do it Ben's method. I don't even remember how he did it. I just remember looking at yours and being like, oh, that's weird. I wouldn't have done it that way, but you still got the right answer.
What, flipping it?
No, yeah, you definitely want to flip it, but the way that you combine these and then decided to do things, I don't know if it's not what the solution guide had for that matter. Solution guide had 2 in the top, you had 1 in the top, but you still got the right answer.
Maybe I just didn't simplify.
You did simplify, but I think you oversimplified more than the key did. I don't know to argue which one is better. But what I need to do here is I do need to combine like terms here, because what I want to do is I want to take the reciprocal of each side. I can't take the reciprocal of this side unless I want to keep it in the denominator. So I'm going to combine like terms right now. So I now have 1 over negative 2y squared is equal to, this is going to now be 4 times 4 in order to get like denominators. So I'm going to get 4x squared minus 5, all of that divided by 8. Alright, I'm going to take the reciprocal of each side. I now have negative 2y squared is equal to 8 over 4x squared minus 5. I know that I can go fast sometimes, so I see your pencils writing, that's why I'm pausing. So far so good. Please ask questions if you're confused. Actually, it doesn't matter that much because I don't want to focus on this too much. All right, divide both sides by -2. Y squared is equal to -4. We can leave the negative on the bottom. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide the 8 by the 2. We get 4 on the top. But this negative is going to be distributed into the bottom. You can choose where you want the negative to go. It doesn't matter. I'm going to choose to put it in the bottom. So I'm going to have 5 minus 4x squared.
Wait, so you're dividing -2 to both sides, right?
Yes.
And then, because it's a fraction being divided, shouldn't we keep it, change, flip it, and then it would be timing by -2?
Yeah, I can show you a little bit more. So what you should have is 8 over 4x squared minus 5, and you're right. So I'm dividing by -2, so I keep it, change it, flip it, times by 1 over -2, right?
No, -2 is on the bottom first.
Nope, negative. If I'm dividing by 2, I'm dividing both sides by 2, so I'm dividing this side by -2.
Oh, okay.
So the -2 does go on the bottom. So -2 is on the bottom now. After keep it, change it, flip it. The 2, and I can do this in a different color here. This 2 and this 8 make this a 4, and this negative is being distributed into the bottom. So I now have 4 over -4x squared plus 5.
Okay.
Oh gosh, we're out of room. So I have to take the square root, and y is equal to, so I'm going to take the square root of the top, the square root of the bottom, which is the same thing as taking the square root of the whole thing. We're okay with that? So the square root on the top is 2, square root on the bottom is square root of 5 minus 4x squared. And then you have this plus or minus, which is kind of pesky, and you have to check the initial conditions again. Because whenever you take the square root, you do have to do plus or minus. And all you have to do is check your initial conditions, which was this. Our initial condition was f of 1 is equal to 2. So I have to plug in x equals 1, y equals 2. So y equals 2, which means that's a 2. This x is a 1. Let's try it out and see if I should choose the positive or the negative. 1 squared, 1, times -4, -4. And then 5 plus that -4, 1. Square root of 1 is 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. Should I be, if this side was a -2, or sorry, if this side was a -2, then I should choose the negative. But this side was a +2, so I choose the positive. My final answer is by scribbling out that negative. Done. What I'm going to instead write is the final answer out here, which is y equals 2 divided by 5 minus 4x squared, square rooted of the bottom. And by doing all of that crazy amount of work, you just got 1 point. Not worth it unless you have extra time on the AP test. Let's go to that packet, the Friday packet. That's the Thursday packet that I didn't upload. There's the Friday packet.
Okay, so that's 4 points?
So 4 points unless you do that last long step, and then you can get 5 points.
Oh, okay.
And note, you have to, the concept of integration is so important that if you don't have it, the max you can get is 2. Note that separating is so important, they won't give you any points if you don't separate. All right, anyway, let's come to Friday. So usually they'll give you a slope field, which I didn't give you on the final exam number 2. It might be seen on final exam number 3. We have to practice our slope fields. It actually gave us the slope field. I need to sketch the curve that passes through 3, -1, and 1, 2. So it gave us both of those points, here and here. What will that curve look like? And the way that you do this is you just kind of go along with what the slopes are doing, as if it's connecting the dots with the slopes. So ready? Here we go. So this point is slightly below, but there we go. It looks like this. I can do this. Good enough. It's as if you have a bunch of water and you know the flow of the water, and you are a stick or a point, a buoy drifting through the water. What is your path? That's a way to think of slope fields. And then this one is also slightly in between, so you should always make it slightly in between. And there are those two sketched graphs. Those are the solution curves. Questions? All right. Oh boy, line tangent to the solution.
So that's just like
That was it. That's done. So for part B, my general formula is this thing. And I think everyone had this general form written, which is why I'm not asking for it from you guys again. The trouble is filling it in. I'll make that box slightly bigger. All right. What is my x?
What?
Nope. Try again. What is my x? Oh, it is 1. Sorry. I was looking at the wrong problem. You are totally correct. What is my y?
2.
What are we missing?
So
We're missing f prime of
that's kind of
1. Exactly. Did they give us f prime?
yeah.
They did. And it's right there.
X over y.
It's just x over y. So x over y is
1/2.
1/2. It's that easy. You just got 2 points. For part B, they give you 1 point if you can find the derivative, which we did, and 1 point if you fill in the rest of the equation, which we did. You just got 2 points. You just got 1 point, maybe 2 points on part A. Probably 2 points. We're up to 4 points already, which means we can get another 5 points on part C. Here we go. Oh, look at this key word, the key phrase, particular solution. What steps must we be doing?
Separate, integrate, and evaluate.
Yep, forget the 4th step unless you have extra time. So do step 1, separate.
So for this part, because it's x over y, would it be y dy equals x dy?
Yeah, you're right. And I can show you what that looks like cross multiplying. That way we'll give you y, that's a bad y dy, and cross multiplying the other way gives you x dx. Wow, that was a really easy step 1.
Yeah, because that one was the only problem before because the y and the x were on the same side of the.
Yeah, and they love giving you those. So if I had to guess, they will probably be giving you those types of problems on the AP test. All right, number 2. What is step 2?
Integrate. So it's integral of y dy.
There it is. And this is only 1 point for integrating because it's so easy. If both of them are hard, then you can get 1 point apiece.
What do you mean hard?
Like if you had y to the -1 on the left, that's hard. And if you had, I don't know, like sine of x or something on the right, or no, you'd probably have like square root of x or something on the right. That would be harder. This is just x and y. This is pretty straightforward. So integral of y is
Y 2 over 2.
cool. And then Rochelle, you've been doing a lot. I'm gonna make Arrow do some now. Arrow, you do the right hand side.
And then just x2 over 2.
Plus c.
That is the super, super important part. Plus c. All right, 2 points. 1 for taking the antiderivatives, 1 for getting that constant of integration. You have to get that constant of integration. All right, I'm on to step number 3, which is what, Arrow?
Plug in and solve for c.
There it is. So what numbers are we plugging in? Anyone?
3 and -1.
Yeah, which one is which? What's x, what's y?
3 is x and -1 is y.
All right. So that means I'm going to have -1 quantity squared over 2 is equal to 3 quantity squared over 2 plus c.
So it's going to be -8 over 2 equals c. Because -1 times itself twice equals positive 1, so it's 1 over 2.
-4 equals c.
and then subtract 9/2, so 1 minus 9 over 2 is equal to c, and then you're right, it's going to be negative 4. Cool. Do you
Oh.
want,
Well, we have to simplify it.
for my test, yes. On the actual AP test, no.
So it's okay if I do it like this.
In fact, on the actual AP test, don't simplify unless you plan on doing that final step of isolate. If you plan on doing isolate, you do need to simplify. If you plan on just trying to stay safe and get points, plug it in, be done with it. You'll get your point.
You need to get us like used to not simplifying.
Well, I just like simplifying should be pretty straightforward. I want to make my test slightly harder than the AP test. That way it feels a little bit more relaxing when you're in the AP test. You'll be like, just need to plug in, I'll be done. All right. Do you want to see final step or should we go on to multiple choice?
How
If
did
you
you
have
get?
time, we can go back.
How did you get c equals -4?
So 3 squared is 9 over 2, 9/2. So if I subtract 9/2 on this side, minus 9/2. So negative 8.
I did it wrong. This is different. I was using the 0.12.
Oh, yeah. So that's why I thought you were wrong last time because I was looking at this one. So we both switched. Yeah. It's an easy mistake to make. And that won't happen on the AP test because they don't format it like this. They give you part C in a whole separate box. All right.
Probably still
Let's see. I forgot. What did you guys say? Did you want to see part 4 or do you want to go on to multiple choice?
We can go on, but if we have time, we can.
That is exactly how you approach the test too. I love the logic. All right, let's do it. And what time do we get out of here on a Friday? 10 o'clock. Okay, we have 5 minutes, which means we probably won't have time to come back. She's just so in tune. All right.
I like like what? What was that?
So from 0 to 3 is 6. From 3 to 5 is 4. Notice that these 3's match up, which means I can connect them, right? So that means the integral from 0 to 5 of f of x is
10.
10. Perfect. Okay, but that's only of f of x. What happens if I multiply that by 2?
So it'd be 20 plus 3?
It would be 20 plus this integral from 0 to 5 of 3. There's a shortcut way and then there's the long way of doing this.
What's the shortcut?
Shortcut is 5 minus 0
5
times 3, 15. The answer is,
Oh.
are you okay with that shortcut error? I know that you like the long way.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
I can always do it the long way, but yeah.
That's the important way, and that's how most mathematicians are. They're always like, I'll have to reprove this, but I think I understand it.
So it's basically the integral of 0 to 5 of 3 dx plus the integral of 0 to 5 to f of x.
Yeah, and I'll even write that out in the answer key too. So it's 0 to 5 of 3 dx plus 2 times the integral of 0 to 5 of f of x. And we found the integral of f of x dx. We found that up here. And I had to multiply it by 2 because that 2 can come outside, and then that was the tricky bit, knowing that 0 to 5 need to be subtracted and then multiply by 3. All right, number 82. If f is a continuous function, which of the following must be true? All right. So if it's continuous, does that mean it's differentiable? No. If it's differentiable, does that mean it's continuous?
Yes.
Yes. So we only have continuous. So what do we, out of the 3 theorems, what are we allowed to use? Can we use IVT? Can we use EVT? Can we use MVT? Those are the only theorems that you're going to be having on the AP test.
MVT has continuous and differential.
Do we have differentiable?
No.
So can't use it. Good. Can we use EVT?
I believe so. I think IVT is a height and EVT is a continuous, right?
You have it half correct. IVT is heights, but it's also continuous. You need continuous for IVT. So if you need to write down, you need continuous. I'll write this down also over here, that this needs to be differentiable. MVT needs differentiable. What does EVT need?
extreme value theorem.
Extreme value theorem. What does that need?
It's just continuous.
Nope. Doesn't even need to be continuous, I don't believe. Oh,
Is it?
does it need to be continuous?
I think continuous and closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Continuous and closed. So I'm just going to do square brackets, or this thing means closed. You're right, Ben. It does need to be continuous, otherwise that doesn't make sense. And then MVT just needs differentiable because differentiable implies continuous. I'll do like a little, this implies continuous. All right, so we can't even use MVT. Look for anything that has a slope in it, f prime. Do you see any f primes?
Yeah.
Cross them out. Can't use it. Can't use MVT. You can only do A, B, or C. Both of those, all three of those are unlocked because IVT and EVT are unlocked by this opening statement.
So would it be A because, or not A? It would be between A and B because C is closed interval and we're looking at IVT. Or are we looking at EVT?
We can use IVT and EVT. So which of these states them correctly?
C.
C is what?
Closed interval. Wait, it's
Which theorem is C using?
EVT.
And is it stated correctly?
I believe so.
That's the answer then.
Always get C.
What's wrong with A and B before we move too fast? We have 20
I
seconds.
was thinking that the only reason why it couldn't be A and B is because it has an open interval. But it should be closed, shouldn't it?
It is a closed interval. And then the definition of IVT is actually a closed or an open interval. So those are setting them correctly. What's wrong with A and B?
They're not closed.
No, it's okay because they're stating a height.
Oh,
Height
so
doesn't
then
need to be
Height
closed.
does not need to equal 0.
Oh, because
all the values could be greater than 0.
Okay, that's why A is not right. What about B?
B because we don't know what f of C is.
It could just be like a flat line.
Exactly. So if it had these equal signs, then it would have been correct. But it could be a flat line. Okay, I don't know what happened there. It could be a flat line which disproves that. If I have a flat line, then they're all equal to each other. There's no equal signs here. That's why B is wrong. It's very, very subtle.
So then what would be the answer if B had the equal?
Then it would have been B and C.
But also, if it's a decreasing function, then that says that f of a is less than f of b, and f of a could be greater than f of b if it's decreasing.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's another way to disprove it. Good. It doesn't need to be a flat line. You're right. Cool.
But it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Should we keep recording since it's break, or do you want to take your break? It's break right now. You want to keep?
Yeah,
Let's go to break.
It's too much noise.